and revamp me. Come and reconstruct me. Come and restructure me so that I can attract people again. It will submit itself to the hands or to the operation of the architect and the master builder. So we ourselves as that dilapidated house that needs the work of the master builder. And the master builder, we said, was who? Jesus Christ. He showed us the areas of our lives, began to show us the areas of our lives that need to be reconstructed. And that as we allow him to finish the reconstruction, what we accrue will be positive. Inflow of people again, enjoyment of those resources that have hitherto been depleted, and what have you. With that treatise, we now came to the main theme captioned, His Watchmen Are Blind. The state of the house is because the house, the people in the house are just simply blind. They have been watching. Things are getting bad and they cannot see. Evidences are showing that under their very noses, things are getting bad, and yet they are just comfortable. So we said, His watchmen are blind. Now quickly, let's go back to Isaiah chapter 56. Isaiah 56, verse number 10. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. In chapter 44, verses 18 to 20. Chapter 44, from verse number 18. They have not known nor understood, for he hath shut their eyes, that they cannot see, and their hearts, that they cannot understand. And none considereth in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned part of it in the fire. Yea, also, I have baked bread upon the coals thereof. I have roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stalk of a tree? He feedeth on ashes. A deceived heart hath turned him aside, and he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lamb in my hand? In this case, in 56th chapter, his watchmen are blind. As a dog, normally, when it sees a stranger coming into its territory, the natural response to that sight is barking. But if the dog is blind, he cannot see the stranger, so he cannot bark. That is how it has been, that the things that we should do, we have not been able to do because we cannot perceive what we should perceive. And in chapter 44 was the case of people in idolatry. He says, is it not senseless of you to begin to fall down to the wood that you use to bake your bread, you use to roast your food, to fall down to such a wood and call that wood your God? Your God is supposed to be higher than you. He that you worship is greater than you. So for you to be so senseless as not to recognize that the wood that you burn in the fire shouldn't be your God, that means that you are blind. So we went to tell us that we must accept the assessment as God speaking to us. God said that his watchmen are blind. There are things that they should know that don't know. And as a result of not knowing, they cannot put value on what they should put value on. And then the whole place is shattered. People are no longer flowing in as they should flow in. The power of God is not flowing as it should flow. Resources are not being enjoyed as it ought to, because the people are blind. We define blindness as that condition in which one is unable to realize, discern, and attach premium on something that the person should value. You didn't value what you should value. You didn't discern. You didn't perceive what you should perceive. And as a result, the expected response from you will not be seen. If you didn't see the value of a thing, you cannot put any value upon it. And then we say we're going to look at areas in life that we have exhibited this blindness towards. And that brings us to the teaching of today. Aspects of the blindness of his watchmen. When we finish, I believe our pastor here will photocopy the outline and give to those who didn't make it on time. The early birds got the outline. Latecomers, we didn't give you. So I think the pastor will be very, very kind to photocopy and give everybody. So we are looking at aspects of the blindness of God's watchmen. Having defined and illustrated spiritual blindness, we are now set to discuss the various aspects of this sickness that exists among God's watchmen. The first thing we are looking at, and that is the only one we see today, is that watchmen are blind to the ministry's position before God. They don't know what watchman is in the sight of God. How God sees the watchman. For those that have followed us for some time, who came from Nigeria, you know, or you have heard testimonies of areas where there were religious upheavals, and how from the time watchman was born until just beginning of this year, no watchman had died in any of such circumstances. There were cases where militants, Islamic militants, fundamentalists, grabbed people among whom we are watchmen, but the watchmen will be spared. I told us, if I could remember last time I came, of a case in which a brother, Christian brother, watchman, was hit with a sword. Sword they used to slash up people's heads, but the thing bounced back. The brother himself was shocked, was surprised. And based on what happened, the leader of that Islamic group asked the other people to leave him and handed back his portfolio to him. He was going on a business trip and was in the vehicle when those people got those who were in that vehicle, killing people. When they saw he was a Christian, but nothing happened to him. I told them of cases where houses were burned, people were killed, brethren were watching heads falling off other people's heads. As swords were used to decapitate, but our own brethren were not touched. It was all speaking of God's interest in the ministry. Now, last 2 weeks thereabout, in Jos, Nigeria, you might have read from internet or somewhere of the riots that happened in Jos. You know that what you hear normally is not really as serious as what happened on ground. Governments always try to paint something to make their countries look better than what happened. It was very terrible. Watchman Church was the only church that held fellowship on that Sunday in Jos. They held their program, this December program. No other church held. And there was a case in which those militants were coming to the watchman place where they held the retreat. No other place had a retreat, only watchman. Now, as they were coming, about 700 meters away, they gathered together. The people gathered together, wanting to come into the camp to slaughter people. The bombs had exploded about 7 different spots or 5 different spots, killing people in their numbers. But as they are coming, the military intervened, asked them to go back. But the people resisted, and the military opened fire and killed all of them. It was God that brought those soldiers at that time. The Watchmen people were in their they didn't know what happened. It was after that some of the soldiers who were involved in exiles told our own brethren who were in that camp, who were soldiers, of what really happened. About 0.7 kilometers away, they were coming to come and finish Christians who were worshiping. God is interested. God is interested in this movement. And that is why we want to let you know where you are. Because when you don't know where you are, your standard of life will be affected. Your faith will be affected because you don't know that you are supposed to be so and so. You will be living below expectation. Your performance will be less than what God requires of you. So today,